Hey guys, welcome back. So growing and feeding your mind is one of the most vital, one of the most important things you can do in business. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about books on real estate investing for beginners. Hey guys, welcome back. First, I'm going to talk about mindset. Then I'm going to talk about feeding your brain. And by the end of this, you're going to know the exact books you need to read to build your real estate empire. I don't even care if you're just starting today. All right, first, mindset. That comes from reading the books. But the mindset, I want to talk about two types of minds that we have. You know, if you were to kind of look at your brain and cut it in half of it would be survival brain. The other half would be thrive brain. So survival brain comes from 5,500 years ago when we were just starting out. We had to worry about food, shelter, warmth, and just like something to clothe us to keep us warm. So we lived in caves, we had to go out and hunt, we had to gather, and eventually started planting crops and then farms. And then we come to where we are today, where we literally have food delivered on our doorstep. Do we really need to worry about that survival brain anymore? That survival brain just holds us back. It pumps cortisol in our mind and our brains that slows us down and pauses us so we do not take action. That is your survival brain. I want you more into your thrive brain. And then no matter what, your brain is always going to pull you back into survival. I shouldn't make that phone call. I shouldn't go out on that date. I shouldn't pull that trigger. I shouldn't door knock that house. That is your survival brain. That is cortisol. And that is going to stop you from taking action. All right, now let's talk about the thrive brain. The thrive brain, this is where you're growing, you're excelling, you're a champion, you're taking action. You're getting rid of that cortisol by just taking the action, just taking the steps to do it. How do we get into the thrive brain? That is the brain that's going to allow you to accomplish your dreams, to accomplish your goals, to get out of debt, to have financial freedom, to quit that job, to ask that girl on the date that's going to eventually be your wife that you have 3 or 4 children with. That is the thrive brain. That is growing. But there's one thing that's going to stop you from thriving, and that is your survival brain saying, look, don't make the decision. Don't go out. Don't make that phone call. Don't knock on that door. Don't drive for those dollars. I want you to stay out of that survival brain. And you're going to go back into it every single day. And there's only one thing. Well, there's multiple things you can do. But one of the things we're going to talk about on this video is reading the right books to get you into that thrive brain. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, I was looking for books to read on real estate investing. Well, that part's coming. And the first book I'm going to give you is The Wealthy Gardener. The Wealthy Gardener is a beautiful story about a chiropractor that just continuously used his chiropractic job and then just kept buying houses until he created an empire of real estate to where he no longer had to work for that, be that chiropractor and work for other people and trade his time for money every single day. That is my number one book recommendation. And I actually put that in front of all the others that I'm going to recommend as well. Next, I'm going to talk about the ABCs of real estate investing. I want to be a little bit different than everyone else because everyone recommends Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, this is part of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad collection. It was actually written by Ken McElroy. This is the most basic understanding of real estate, and it's the ABCs of real estate investing written by Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Ken McElroy. This book is going to give you examples, like definitions of how to get started, what everything means, and to take the next steps. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just recommend Rich Dad, Poor Dad as well. That book is just foundational. That is an amazing book. It's going to make your thinking a little bit differently. It's going to change your mindset. It's going to change your thinking. So I highly, highly recommend Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The next book is Think and Grow Rich. And you might be thinking, holy cow, I never read anything and you've already recommended like 4 books. Let me just show you a way to eat the elephant. How do you eat an elephant? You might not even like elephant. I don't personally like elephant. I've actually never tried it, but I wouldn't eat one of those creatures either. But if you were to have to eat one, I would start one bite at a time and start with the smallest part, which is probably the tail. Just take one little bite at a time. And how do I recommend that on taking that action to books is reading 10 pages a day. 10 pages a day, 7 days a week. That's 70 pages a day. All right, there are 231 pages in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you break that down, 70 pages a week. So 7, 14, 21, 32. that would take you less than 4 weeks to read this book, Think and Grow Rich, which is a powerful book. You know, it teaches you about like the concepts of literally just thinking about things and making it happen by taking action. It talks about what the Rockefellers did. Napoleon Hill does an amazing job explaining how the Vanderbilts came alive, what they did with the oil and the steel industry. So many lessons come out of Think and Grow Rich. I highly, highly recommend getting that book and start building a library of books that you're going to want to read for beginning on real estate investing. And you might be asking yourself, well, I thought you were going to recommend real estate investing books, Brent. Well, let me show you. All you need to know about real estate investing is in the ABCs of real estate investing. This YouTube channel, by the way, which hopefully you've subscribed by now, you hit that, smash that subscribe button, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Next is Who Not How. I actually just recently read this book in the last 6 months, and it is absolutely powerful. And let me tell you, there's not a lot of pages, 173 pages, and that's from front to back. So a lot of it's acknowledgments. You don't even have to read that. Just get to the meat. Get to the meat. And let me tell you, the most important thing about reading these books is putting the book down and taking the action steps that they recommend. Recommend is crucial. You have to take the steps. You can read and read and read and read and read and read, and it feels wonderful. You feel smart getting all this knowledge and just accumulating it, but you must take action on the knowledge that you receive. Now, let me break this book down a little bit more. It's who, not how. I'm gonna give an example of my who, not how right now in this video. I did not even know how to hook up this mic. Someone else did it for me. I don't know how to film this content. Someone else is helping me with it. I don't even know how to post stuff on YouTube. That is my who, not how. I don't care how to do it. Someone else helps me with it. That's the only way things happen. You know, I once heard from a billionaire that said, you know, he said that the old saying is, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself, right? Well, the billionaire said, if I want it done right, I don't do it. Now that's coming from a billionaire, but your uncle or your great uncle or your grandpa that worked hard his entire life or her entire life, doesn't matter who we're talking about. They probably had that old saying, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. But they never had anything extra. They lived, you know, a very frugal life. They didn't have extra savings. They couldn't afford to retire. They're probably the ones that said that if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. They weren't taking the advice from who, not how. Next, the richest man in Babylon. By following the principles in this book, it will give you such an upstart on life. I don't care if you're late hearing about this. It is not too late to get started right now with the richest man in Babylon. I'm not even going to spoil the story, but it's 151 pages. It is super, super easy read. You can read this in like 2 weeks time and just take the steps, take the action steps. And the last book I'm going to read is by Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning. So when I was working in the Army, getting on base at 6 a.m. and not leaving till 6 or 7 p.m., my grandfather would say, oh, you're putting in a half day, right? From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., half day, right? 24 hours in a day, you're only working 12. Well, I was working 12, 13-hour days, just had our first baby, had a newborn at home, wasn't getting much sleep at night. Me and my wife had only been married about a year when we had our first baby. And like we were just struggling. Well, that miracle morning came into my life in about 2015. And I started taking the action of getting up early. And I think he recommended 5 a.m. in the book. I wanted to be even better. So I got up at 4 a.m. I heard once that billionaires get up at 5 a.m. So I was like, well, I want to be better than the billionaires too. I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. So I was getting up at 4 a.m. and I had to be on base by 6 a.m. 2-hour difference. I had to be working out at 6 a.m. where most of my soldiers, they would just roll out of bed. And not, I shouldn't say my soldiers. I started out as an E1 and eventually became a sergeant, NCO, non-commissioned officer, and then became an officer. And I started leading soldiers. But most of these soldiers would literally roll out of their bed, not even brush their teeth or their hair, and they would go straight into our physical training. And that's how they would start their day. I had already been up 2 hours. I had read the Bible. I read The Miracle Morning. I fed my mind with these books on real estate investing for beginners as I was just starting in my real estate investing career. And I would eat that frog first, as Brian Tracy would say. What does it mean to eat the frog first? I would get the most important thing out of the way before 6 a.m. I would accomplish at least one goal for that day to move that needle a little bit further ahead of building my real estate empire, which ultimately allowed me to get out of the Army by 2018. So I came across all these books in about 2015 timeframe, except for that Who Not How that I just mentioned. That's a newer one. And by getting up early, a couple hours early, by literally just having a glass of water right next to the coffee pot, I would down the glass of water, hit that coffee pot on, start with the Bible, start feeding my mind, and then get the most important thing done out of the way. What would it be for that day? Maybe putting an ad to hire somebody, maybe hiring an accountant, maybe getting the mail out the door. That way I could go ahead and buy that property, buy that piece of land, buy that house. So you might be wondering what got me out of the military, what got the shackles off my arm to get rid of that carrot that was in front of me. I was able to quit my job by investing in land, by buying land at crazy massive discounts and turning around and selling it and making a fortune. I've done over 360 land deals in the last couple of years, and we have over 100 notes paying us every single month for land that I purchased at literally 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, and I turn around and seller finance it to other people. That gives me a monthly note every single month. It's a promise to pay me. These people that buy this land for me have to go to work every single day so they can write a check to me for the piece of land that they purchased from me. And it allows me to have a comfortable lifestyle, gave me financial freedom, time freedom, geography freedom. I can live anywhere in the world now because these checks come in every single month directly into my bank account. If you're looking to get started in real estate, you're looking for someone to hold your hand and walk you through that, I'd be honored to coach you. You just need to head over to thelandsharks.com. That's thelandsharks.com and schedule a call with me and my team. We'll see what your real estate investing goals are. And if we feel like we're a good fit, I'd be honored to coach you.